Namaste. Today we shall talk about yogic routine or a healthy routine that one should follow for a healthy lifestyle. So today, people they are very busy in their work and their responsibilities. But I think it is also important that we give some time to ourselves and notice that how we spend our whole day. We talked about this already in the previous lecture a little bit, that yoga is about being aware and being able to consciously choose to do what we want. So today we'll take a look at yogic routine, and it's somewhere according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda is one of the ancient texts, and especially Ayurveda is one of the parts of Vedas which talks about the science, spiritual science, we can say. At the same time, it talks about different types of science. Ayurveda is the science of life, as the word Ayu means life and Veda means science. So according to Ayurveda, well, let's begin from the morning. So since whole night you've been dead, somewhere dead, you've been unconscious at least. So you are going to wake up in the morning. Now what is the first thing you do? Well, many people when they wake up they look for coffee. They look for their phone if there is a text from someone. So let's give some break to ourselves from the point we wake up and starting our day with some work and responsibility. So if you feel like that you want to have a cup of coffee because you think that you want to start your day being really energized and rejuvenated, there is a way to do that. But first let's talk that what is the best time to wake up according to Ayurveda. So Ayurveda suggests that the best time to wake up is before sun rises. So it is prior 45 to 1.5 hours before. So at this time, this time is called as Brahma Muhurat, where the word Brahma could be known as divine and Muhurat is time and omen. So this is the time which is considered to be the best time to wake up for any person to start the day really healthy and joyful. Because, well, I don't have to explain you much that when you wake up at this time, the trees are really spreading the cool breezes. The environment is much more quiet. It is very pure. At that time, performing breathing exercises, or your body even, it has been dead whole night, so you just woke up. So this is a good time to start being aware of yourself, and it can also be the best time to meditate because the disturbance is very less. So, but there can be a question that what if you're working late night? Some people, those who work late night, let's say you finish your work around 12 or 1 a.m. at night, and then if you consider waking up at this time, especially when you do not give yourself much time to relax, this could also make your lifestyle very hectic. So I would recommend that this is for those people who tend to go to bed around 10, which is considered a good time to go to bed. So when you follow that routine, you sleep early, you wake up early, so you have a lot of time throughout the day to perform your tasks and responsibilities. So waking up at this time, one wonderful things that happen to you is that when you wake up at this time, the air element into the nature, as there are 5 elements into the nature. Let me write it here. It's the fire, it's earth, it's water, it's air, and space. In the morning time, especially air and space, mostly air element is much more dominant than any other element at this period of time. So if you wake up at this time, which is divine time, your body is much more receptive to movements, it is much more receptive to space. So at this time, you'll also notice that your body actually is detoxifying. It is releasing the toxins. It is at the this is the best time to cleanse the body. That's why, you know, all the cleansing are done in the morning, especially empty stomach. Even you empty your stomach in the morning, because at this time your large intestine or the colon, where the waste is accumulated to be defecated, it gets stored, and space into intestine is little bigger and much more spacious at this time, which could really help you defecate and keep your digestion working well. But you know, let's say you wake up late. So if you wake up late, many people even cannot really defecate if they wake up late now. So if you are waking up late, you are unable to defecate now. Well, if you do not answer the call of nature, well, you know that you have to answer the call of nature at other time otherwise. Now let's say you are somewhere which is very urgent to you. So example, right now I'm here in front of you giving a lecture, and if I had to answer the call of nature, what would I do? Well, since that is so important to me right now, I may not go there, and I may put the call into silent, and it may vibrate because nature is still calling you. But when you avoid defecating for continuously for a long time, what happens as a consequence? When the stools don't get defecated, they remain there, and the kidneys keep on absorbing the water from the intestine, large intestine. And when a lot of water absorption happens, the stools become harder and drier. You might have noticed this, that if you skip defecating, let's say your body wants to eliminate the stools, but you can't make it somehow, and you have to resist. So if you try to do it later, the stools will be much more drier and harder to be defecated. And if this process is done repetitively many times, this could also lead to constipation, and maybe further could lead to, you know, malfunction of the colon, and in future it could also lead to piles like problem. So make sure that, you know, well, in order to live a healthy life, it's important that a person finds time for himself. Like waking up at this time could really be helpful for your overall health. It could also allow you to, you know, to wake up at that time when your body really want to be cleansed, and it also want to be energized. So this could be the best time to do that. Now further, once you have woken up, okay, at this time, the very first thing, as I just said, that people, you know, sometimes want to have coffee to feel energized. So instead of having a cup of coffee, which is a stimulant which you are taking from outside, you could start your day by performing some deep breathing. And I call it coffee breathing because it gives you, you know, that kind of stimulation. So this breathing could be done like you breathe deep and fast. So you inhale and exhale deep and fast for 20 to 30 seconds, or 20 to 30 times, 30 breaths you do in one go. So it's going to be like, try to take full lung breath, using your belly to expand, using your chest to expand fully. Similarly, exhale fully. If you do it for 1 to 2 minutes, it may make your body feel warm. It may make your heartbeat, you know, go higher. It may also make you sweat out sometimes. It'll stimulate your body in such a way because of a lot of oxygenation. And then what you should do is you should hold your breath for 30 seconds to 1 minute. So if you do this 2 to 3 times, your body could really make you feel rejuvenated, and your retention power will also improve. Performing this exercise will also help you get rid of excessive amount of acid from the blood, which will also balance the pH level of the body. So as you know that in today's lifestyle, the diet we have been eating, well, not consciously or with choice sometimes, but in compulsive states we are in sometimes. And when that happens, we have to eat like junk food like pizza, burger, pasta and things like that. When such is your diet, mostly it is very acidic in nature. Consumption of too acidic food could lead to acidosis into the body, and first it impacts the blood pH level. But body is so smart that if your pH level is too low, like if it is too acidic, it'll compensate in the form of hyperventilation, or it'll make the calcium leach out from the bones, and it could also make your bones brittle and could lead to some other problems. So if you are the person who eats a lot of acidic food, you should perform this breathing which could be helpful to get rid of that acid out through your breath in the form of carbon dioxide. So starting your day with this breath could really helpful. Even before that, so once you have woken up at this time, first thing you do is you just notice your body, because you've been dead whole night somewhere. So let's just start being aware of the body. So don't you just wake up with the jerk. Your body could have, you know, a sensation of some danger. So don't you do that. You wake up in first, and you just start being aware of yourself. It's like self observation meditation. And after that, what you can do is you can do this breathing for 2 to 3 rounds. One round would be doing 20 to 30 breath, holding the breath after you have inhaled and exhaled for 30 times, holding after exhalation for around 30 seconds to 1 minute, then inhaling, then again holding the breath for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Around, a healthy person should be able to hold the breath around 30 seconds to 40 seconds. So at least you should do that. If it is not being done by you, perhaps your diet is very acidic and maybe your lung capacity is too less. So this breathing could also really help you, make your lungs expand well, make your, intra-abdominal muscle or inter-trunk muscle work, which also leads to spinal stability, and it also allows to give you some warmth to the body. So performing this exercise may ask you to have a cup of coffee, because this is going to give you somewhere same sort of stimulation, which will give you the sensation of being fully energized and rejuvenated. So after performing this breath, okay, you have done this breath, now you calm down. Now what you can do is you start your day with cleansing. So first, before you do some cleansing, the best thing we recommend one is to do Usha Pan, where the word Usha means morning and Pan is drink, means the drink that you have in the morning. And this drink is not some wine or alcohol, but it is the water. As you know that body is mostly 1/3 of the body is made up of water. So it is important that we keep ourselves hydrated, and in the morning, water could also be very helpful for detoxifying, because our body is somewhere eliminating the toxins, especially through our tracts of digestive tracts. So if you drink water around, like, how much water should we drink? Well, it depends, but at least drink around 500 milliliters to 1 liter water if possible. And then you'll notice that if you drink warm water, it can also make you urinate too frequently. So better drink room temperature water. Don't drink too cold water unless it is really needed. Too cold drink water should only be, not too cold, but cold water should only be drunk when you have less water but you feel thirsty, because cold water takes time to be digested and it can help you be hydrated as compared to warm water, because warm water passes through the system quickly. You may notice this, that if you drink warm water, urination will happen too frequent as compared to if you drink cold water or normal temperature water. So once you have had 500 milliliters to 1 liter water, now you want to, it should help you get rid of the toxins. It will help you defecate well, because of the pressure from water could also lead to stool pushing and could also help you defecate even well. The stools will also become much more soft because of the water added to it, and it could also be helpful to break them down to be defecated well. Now it may not, if you haven't been following this routine already and you start drinking, so for some people drinking water suddenly too much could be like, they may not really like this. So maybe start drinking 1 to 2 glasses, or maybe 100 milliliters to 200, then slowly build up for around 500 to at least 750 milliliter you should be drinking. Now throughout the day you can drink water according to the need. Well, these days, there are researchers saying that a person should be drinking this much of water, that much of water. Well, it totally depends upon your lifestyle. If you are the person who are not much physically active, and on top of that, if the temperature is cold outside, well, you know that you don't really need to drink too much water, because if you drink, you have to urinate a lot. So that is a lot of work for your body happening. So better you drink water when you feel thirsty. If you're really aware of your body, you should feel thirsty on time, and then you drink enough water. Don't just drink sip by sip, because sometimes, this has been trend these days that people carry really fancy bottles and keep on drinking and sipping water throughout the day. So if you do that, throughout the day, like maybe you drink too much water, well, overhydration could also lead to certain problems, like too much water into the body could also lead to swallowing of the cells, and that could lead to malfunctioning of the cells into the body. So make sure you drink water when you feel thirsty. Now it doesn't mean that your mouth start to feel dry and your body stops sweating out, but there'll be a some very subtle sensation which will give you the thirst sensation, and you drink enough water to quench the thirst properly. Now there are some other rules that Ayurveda suggests about water. It says that when you drink water, don't you just drink water, rather eat it. Eating water means, it can mean differently. It can mean that you consume fruits and food which are more with water content, and it could also mean that don't you just gulp the water down, don't you just cough the water down, rather take a sip and really churn the water into the mouth, and let the saliva also get mixed with the water, and then let it go down. So if you let the water remain into the mouth, it will also help you keep it cleansed, and it will also allow you to make the most of the water content. Because sometimes just gulping the water down, especially standing, sometimes people gulp the water down too much. You will notice that if you drink water too fast, sometimes you feel suffocated because you have no time to breathe. So it shouldn't happen. Drinking and eating shouldn't be done in haste. It must be done into the state of calmness and relaxation. This is also the reason that when you, let's say you've been running and suddenly you stop, you are not recommended to drink water all of the sudden and too much. You make sure you relax first, let the breath come back, then take water sip by sip, and that could be really helpful. Other rules that Ayurveda talks about water is, while you're consuming food, near your meal, avoid drinking water. It means your food should be, first of all, watery enough. Because if you're, let's say you are eating pizza and burger which is very dry in nature, it doesn't mean it's wrong and bad to eat, but of course excessive eating of this could lead to several problems. So let's say you're eating burger and pizza which is very dry, because water content is too little. That is why it is unnatural. One of the reasons, because even water content is the most found component even onto the planet, and same into the body. So you must consume the food that has enough water content. If you're consuming the food with enough water content, I do not think that you would need to drink water additionally. It's same that, let's say you're eating watermelon, and do you ever prefer drinking water with watermelon? It doesn't make sense. But let's say if you're eating pizza burger which is too dry, of course you want to have that with cold drink or some soft drink. So if you're even eating some food which is dry, which you have to sometimes, now what to do? Ayurveda suggests that don't eat food, rather drink food. What it means is that keep the food into your mouth and chew it so much that the food becomes watery, and then you can gulp it down. So as we just talked about some water rules, like how to drink water according to Ayurveda. So even if you notice these days that there are researches going on which talks about water memory or water molecular component changing according to or on the basis of how you emote and think in the surrounding of water. So it is also important that there is a fashion that goes on, that people carry the bottles which are copper bottles. People use copper bottles for drinking water, but to be honest, these bottles are somewhere useless, because if you are keeping water into water bottle just for 5 to 10 minutes or even an hour, it does not really help. It is important that water is kept into copper bottles or copper pots for at least 20 to 30 hours, and then there will be copper component which will be mixed into the water. And one reason why it is said that hot water shouldn't be put into copper bottle, because it could also lead to too much, it could lead to copper toxicity. It happens because when the water is too hot, it can take or absorb a lot of copper into water, and that is why water will also taste very coppery, and that could lead to too much copper could lead to copper toxicity into the body, and that could hamper your nervous system and several other issues could occur. So if you are having a copper bottle, better not a copper bottle, or even if you use it, maybe fill water, keep it there, and then use other bottle, fill that bottle, then use that water throughout the day, and keep this copper bottle filled for at least a day. Then only this will be very helpful. Well, in other point of view, copper bottle is also considered a very pure metal uh, in our tradition and culture. Even when we do worshipping and all those things, we use our copper utensils for worship and all other traditions we do. So this is one way to understand that we are being respectful to something that is helpful to us. So not always you are drinking water in copper bottle because you want to have copper into the body, but sometimes you are treating water as something special which is important to one's life. So you are kind of being respectful towards that. So not only carrying a fancy bottle would help you be respectful towards that, but the moment and the emotions you have towards it when you're consuming it. So this is one of the reasons that why it is said that don't eat and don't drink, don't consume anything when you are in the state of let's say anger, when you are in the state of being furious or emotionally stressed. When you are sad, better you give yourself some time, relax, and eat food and drink water when you are in the state of calmness and especially in the state of joy. Then the water will also react the way which will also spread joy and happiness throughout the body. So moving further about water, let me quickly go through what we have talked about water. So the special point I have mentioned there about food and water, Ayurveda suggests especially that don't you just eat food but drink food. It means the food should be either very watery, or you should chew the food so well that it becomes watery. Further, I have written that eat water. Eating water means like have water in your mouth for so long that it doesn't just remain that thin water but become viscous because of the saliva getting mixed into it, which could also be helpful for your digestion. So sometimes we also suggest people that don't drink water while you're standing, and there is a myth that drinking water while standing could lead to knee problems. Well, this doesn't really sound logical, but perhaps this is not the point to consider it as a logical or not. Rather, it is more that it is being told as a precaution. Like my mom used to tell me that just sit down to drink water, don't you just gulp water down while you're standing. She didn't really mean that I'd have knee problem, but she's just telling me to take precautions. What could happen when you drink water standing, especially quick? Especially it could happen to few people, not to everyone. Drinking water standing could lead to problem like hernia, or it could basically it could lead to hernia or hydrocele, which is where the water goes with force into the abdomen. It could put too much pressure to the abdominal wall or perhaps to intestinal wall. So it is recommended that you sit down so your body is also in relaxed state, though the force of water will remain same, but sitting down changes the position of the body and let the water settle down slowly. This is why you should also not gulp water down too quick, because then you have no time to really breathe even sometimes, and then you become panic sometimes. If you drink, let's say you drink 1 liter water in one go, you'll notice that you start to suffocate because you didn't give yourself enough time to breathe properly. So make sure you take time for everything that you do for your body. Giving time to something means one way to respect it. So especially we have talked about water today. Tomorrow, in the next session, we shall talk about food a little bit, where I shall be letting you know about different types of food and diet according to Ayurveda, and further we shall start the yoga anatomy. So for this session, that is all for today, and Enjoy your lesson. Namaste.